Hello, everyone. This is Jordan. Welcome back to the Daily Gold YouTube channel. And for those who are new, welcome to the Daily Gold YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to recap the week and look ahead as we always do each and every Friday. This is being recorded on the afternoon of April 25th, 2025. And look, tough week for precious metals. The gold peak, we have been expecting it, an interim peak, definitely in now. This video will not be as long as last week. If you're new or you missed last week's video, I'll have a link in the description, but please watch that where I covered quite a few things. I'm not going to cover as much in this video, but again, the reality is gold has made an interim peak, and we'll have to keep that in mind as we assess precious metals moving forward over the coming weeks, the next few months. But enough of me babbling. Let's get to the charts. Let's get right to the video. Okay, so we have a market overview here. These are 2-month candle charts from Stock Charts. Love this feature. It gives us a look at everything that's going on in the market. Here we can see the big reversal on gold. Nearly hit 3,500 in the overnight session. These are good candles the last couple days, but I still think the risk is it's going to dump below this immediate support of 3,300. Gold against the stock market or gold against the 60-40. This made a huge move. Really in the last couple of weeks, you can't quite see it here, but this made a huge move. And so we're looking for a counter trend move. And we've already seen it. The stock market looks like it put in a low. We know gold put in a peak. So over the short to medium term, we're in a counter trend move. The stock market could outperform gold for a little while. Silver, we know 35 is big resistance. So it wouldn't surprise me if maybe it'll have one more attempt to get back to 34.35, but I think 34.35 should hold as resistance for a little while. Not too much damage in the stocks yet, although they were down 4+% on the week, whereas gold was down slightly. Silver, by the way, was the big winner, up 1.7% on the week. Looking at bonds, there is a threat where this 10-year yield could come down here to the low 4s, and that would obviously be good for stocks. So we're in a new regime. It looks like a new environment where lower yields, they're good for the stock market, at least for the time being, as long as the economy doesn't fall into a recession. Whereas the higher yields, that's definitely a concern. So that's where we are. Let's get more specific on gold and silver. Okay, so the daily charts here for gold here, silver here, daily candle charts. And we can see here, gold, way above the 200-day moving average. This is my sketch of how this could play out. And this is something I've talked about not only in the last week's video, but in quite a few videos and a couple articles and tweet threads. And that is, how does gold act after it makes a breakout? It makes a big move. Like, where does it correct to? How does the correction take shape and form? Well, in basically every case, it comes back to the 200-day moving average. This is going to be really good support over the next few months. And if we're looking at price action and we're looking at, where based on the price action could the next low be, immediately I would look at this level here. This was resistance here, support here, and then you got a pretty good move. So you have a little gap here. So this could be some interim, not interim, but maybe some very short-term support here at this level. But ultimately, this is the area and levels that I would be looking at. Again, 200-day moving average. I'm projecting it here. We should see this thing hit 2,900 in June, and it's probably going to hit 3,000 in July. So again, we'll see with gold. I mean, sometimes you get a correction where it comes down really hard and then it bottoms and tests really quickly, or, maybe it goes kind of sideways like this, and then the moving average catches up to it. It's too early to say, but either way, I feel really good about this support here, just below 3,000. And this would be a 15% decline, which, I mean, it would be a whole nother video, and I think I've done one, looking at corrections in, real bull markets in gold. How much of a correction do you tend to get? At this point in the bull market, I would say this is a really good number. Eventually, when we see the next leg higher and gold goes to 4,000 and higher, the correction you would get from that point would probably be 20% or so. So I think this is in the range of where we are here and now. Silver, I already mentioned it. Resistance here, 34.35. The 400-day, I like how it's coming up here at 28. Gold-silver ratio, I mean, did this peak earlier this week? I mean, It's possible. I don't have a strong opinion on it yet, but that's something I'll touch on more in future updates. So this will be really interesting to watch. Now, moving on to the weekly charts here. So here's the weekly candle chart for gold, weekly candle chart for silver. So gold, this is a clear topping candle here. I mean, if you look at various peaks, and I did another video about this, you look at like this peak right here, there's another one right here, another one right here, another one right here. So you get this type of candle, especially after a big move like that. That's a strong signal of a peak. So that's where we are on the weekly chart. And here's the support I was talking about. This is 29.50, a little bit lower what I was projecting on the daily chart. But, you can see this is probably the level that we're looking at. I'd be surprised if gold went below that level. Now, as for silver, the key for silver, I want to see it continue to stay above this level here, 29, a little bit below. Great move here. Great rebound, I should say. But again, big resistance here. So it's not a problem if we come back here and test this again. Again, ideally what I'd like to see is, this kind of action. This is a very bullish consolidation. And then eventually, later in the summer or early fall, then it takes out 35, 37. And that's when the serious move in silver begins. So this is really the last accumulation opportunity in silver, I think, over the coming months, because there is a real risk that once it breaks 35, 37, it's going to get a lot more expensive quickly. And by the way, I think the silver stocks, they're not going to wait till silver hits 50 or breaks 50. They're going to discount that beforehand. The same thing happened in 2010, 2011 when it broke $22 and had this great glide path all the way to 50. Those stocks were discounting that in the 20s and low 30s well before the market came back to hit 50. So again, look for silver stocks to lead the coming move in silver after this correction. And just another point I want to make about silver, these are daily charts here, and I'm using the 60/40 fund, BIGPX. My data tracks this fund really, really closely. So you can use this fund here for daily or weekly charts, giving a short-term look. And so this is silver against the 60/40. This is silver against the S&P 500. Look at how beautiful these charts are. I mean, this silver against the 60/40, this is coming up on a 4.5-year base here. So look how close silver is to breaking out. Same thing with silver against the stock market. This is coming up on a 4-year base here. And so, we were tracking gold against the 60/40 for so long. We had the huge breakout in March. Silver is going to be next. So we got to keep an eye on silver against the 60/40, silver against the stock market. These are looking really bullish. I don't know if they're going to break out next week or next month or 2 or 3 or 4 months, but looking at these, they're going to break out sometime this year, and more capital is going to go into silver. So again, after this correction in the sector, silver is going to be ready to really, really move. And speaking of this correction, if you own minors and juniors, this is a key point to reassess everything that you own. Reassess your portfolio and really think about, do I own the stocks that are going to be the winners in the next leg in this bull market? Do I own quality companies and quality assets? The companies that have quality assets, those are the stocks that the big money buys weakness in those stocks first. So that is the real key. You want to be in the leaders, in the future winners, and that's something that we focus on at the Daily Gold Premium. For those of you who are subscribers, thank you so much. I appreciate you. For those of you who own minors and juniors and are not subscribers, would love to have you come aboard. I think it will really benefit. Either way, people, this is a key point in time to reassess your portfolio. Dump the stocks that are laggards and losers, that don't have good prospects, and get into the companies that are going to be the leaders and winners. If we have this huge move ahead of us, you want to be in the gold and silver stocks that are going to do 5x, 7x, 10x. You don't want to be in the ones that are just going to go up, 1x or 2x. Okay, you got to be in the stocks that are the biggest winners, and we will help you do that at the Daily Gold Premium. Thank you, and let's wrap it up here talking about the gold stock. So remember the big picture. In yellow here, we had a big breakout in the gold and mining stocks. And, again, last, month or so, we can see big, we had breakout and then we had a retest when the stock market crashed. Then we had a big move higher. And we are in a correction now in the sector. So what does that mean? Well, I sketched out here in GDX. Here's potentially how this could play out. And this is just a rough sketch. This is not an absolute prediction. But you look at these other ETFs here, GOEX, which is Juniors XAU. Here's the Canadian one, GDXJ here. And yeah, I think, potentially something like this could happen where, we see a correction in the sector, it bottoms, rebounds, kind of consolidates a little bit. And then, when we're kind of midway into the correction or towards the end, we're going to see stocks, the minors and juniors, make another leg higher. I think they're going to lead gold. I talked about that in the last video. And so, yeah, the medium to intermediate term outlook is really good. Short term, I still think we have some weakness ahead. So these are the short-term charts, GDX here, GDXJ, SILJ. Here are the thumbnails here. And, we can see for GDX, this is a strong support here. Call it 43. We could have drawn a line here a little bit below that, 40, around 42. So that's strong support. It's already come down from 53 to 48. Maybe it rallies a little bit, but yeah, there's probably another leg down coming. Again, 43 is a support level we're looking at. GDXJ, it's already come down from nearly 67 down to 60. Had a good candle today, but looking at the strong support there is some initial support, I'd say. Call it 57. Yes, I would agree with that. Some initial support in 57. Very strong support here down around 55, 53, that area. And that's the prospect for the short term. Still another wave of selling to come, but people, we have to be ready, because if we see more weakness, more selling down to these support levels, we got to jump on our favorite stocks. This is a critical time. We want to be or want to get positioned for what is coming in the next few years. And the chance to do that is coming in the next few weeks, I believe. That's all for the video. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Hope you guys had a great week, and I hope you had an even better weekend. Thanks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.